This is the Ryobi RM480ex. We're going to go ahead and get this ready for winter. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the bagger off, and I'll show you that here in a second. All right, easiest and quickest piece to take off is going to be this piece right here. Already, you just pull your pin off. You can pull this up out, pull this out, and it's ready to go. All right, next part, it's a little bit harder to see. We're going to come down here to this. You can see we got one pin here in the front, and pull that off. And you have this one down here that actually was already off. But then you just lift up and out to get this up and off. And that's off. And now that's both tubes off. And all these will be cleaned up later prior to sitting for all winter. All right, now it's the bagger part. This, I can't show because I need two hands, but basically you'll see this part right here. This is where it holds it on. So literally you just lift this up and it take the whole thing away. And this piece, if you really want to, you can take this off. There's actually just a pin down on the bottom here with a cotter pin that holds it. You can see it down underneath there. But for me, I'm just leaving that on. And I do gotta get the leaf blower and clean all the leaves out of this because I was using it for bagging before I put it away for the year. All right, next, we're gonna get this deck off. Okay, easiest way to do your deck. First thing you're gonna do is lower this all the way down. And that puts it down onto the ground. And you can see you got your pin here. There's one up underneath here, and then there's two on the other side. So first we're gonna do is get these out. There's a little washer that comes off. Now these I usually put back on here after I get it off. You take the bolt out. All right, and we're done on this side. Now we'll go around to the other side. And I got the pieces laying here. These will be put back on afterwards. So let me do the other side. All right, this side the same thing. It's harder to see because of the lights at, but let me pull it off. Take your pin and bolt out. Then come back here to the back one, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna pull this out, but I gotta move the camera, I can't reach. We're gonna pull this out, and I'll be right back. All right, got that off. I'm gonna put the washer back on and a cotter pin back in. So this way I won't lose this over the winter. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these four back in and I'll show you the next step. All right, you can see what I mean? I put these back in so they won't be lost. So it's there, and you can see the other one right here. So it has the washer and the cotter pin on there, so that way they don't get lost over the winter. So now, to make it a little easier to reach underneath here, you can come back up here, put your thing all the way back up, and you can see it retracts everything back up. So now they're out of the way. Now we need to go over and get those connections taken care of. All right, for the next step, I also have 2 freezer bags and some zip ties. We're gonna use these on the plugs up underneath. Okay, now we're underneath the Ryobi. You can see this plug has to come off and this one has to come off down here. These are actually for your drive motors for your blades on your mower deck. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this one undone. And it's literally just you unscrew these apart. I'll show you what they look like once they're apart. All right, you can see right there, this one is apart now. It's literally just 3 pin. And then you got this here, this collar is what spins to get it off. All right, so now I'm gonna get the other one done here. Okay, I don't know how clear you can see it. I have the other one disconnected too. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and just slide this mower deck out from underneath. And when I say slide it out, what I'm gonna do is literally push it out that way enough that I can get it from the other side and just pull it out. All right, you can see both plugs are right here. Now, this is gonna be my 3rd year of doing this and I haven't had any issues yet, so I'm gonna continue with this method. Basically, I tuck these up in here. I'm gonna end up putting a bag around these and zip tying these. So I'll show you that here in a minute. All right, you can see I got it slid out underneath here. Now on asphalt or concrete, this slides around pretty easy. You can see how gunked up it is underneath here with leaves and everything. This is gonna get cleaned out, but that's gonna be for something else. So now this is all about ready. I do have the mower or the plow is over on the other side. I'll put that on in a little bit, but let me show you what to do with the plugs. All right, you can see I got them bagged and tied tightly up around here. And these are gonna stay tucked up inside, right like this. And that keeps them out of the snow and everything else. Because underneath here is not gonna get built up with that much snow, because I'm gonna have the plow in the front, and that's gonna be where most of it's at. So, I mean, if you really want to, you could zip tie these up even farther, but I just let it like this. I left a long tag on it. That makes it easier come springtime. Okay, you can see on the front here, I leave my plow attachment on there year round, so I don't take this off. But this is the plow. It's actually, I think it's a Brinley, I don't know how you want to say that. But you can see I did make a couple modifications here. This rope is just so I don't lose my pin, but I have a different pin, and I did drill those out a little bit. So this is just a hitch pin, so I can change the angle much easier than the way that comes with it. All right, so the first things we gotta do to get the plow ready to get put on is you gotta pull pin, slide that out. We'll just lay that to the side and do the same thing for this bar. I'm gonna pull the pins on this one and slide that one out also. Because then this part here gets lined up with this one, and this smaller one goes into here. All right, we're gonna try this one-handed. I got it kind of lined up here. So literally what you do is get that in there, get the bottom one lined up, and get your pin put through. All right, I can't line it up with one hand. Be right back. All right, first pin is on. Get the cotter pin in. And that was the hard part. Now the easiest part is literally this goes into here. So it's just to lift it up, slide the pin through, I'll be right back. All right, now you can see it's all on here. Operation is as simple as pull back on this, and that holds it up. And then put it down, just let her slap down. That's it. And if you have issues, you can actually make yourself like a little, put a milk crate or something over these holes and put some weights in there if you have issues with sliding. This is pretty much just for sidewalks and little small light stuff, but it works great for that. All right, now we're gonna clean the mower deck off here for the Ryobi electric mower. This is for the RM480ex. First thing I'm gonna do is get these screws out. There's 4 on each, well, total, 2 on top of these to get these covers off. All right, I got the screws loose. This one's a little bit harder to get off than that one, because this one you gotta kind of lift up a little bit and slide it out to get it off. This one you can just lift straight up and off. So now you can see that you can get down in there and get these cleaned out pretty well. All right, so we're gonna get that taken care of, and then I'll be back. Okay, now you can see it's actually nice and clean down and through there on both of these. I've never had to get too extreme where I've had to remove the motor, but to do that, you're gonna have to take the blades off the other side. But, so now we're done on this side. I was gonna get this stuff all swept up, and then we'll flip it over and we'll show you the other side. All right, I forgot to show my old specialty tool here. That I use this for cleaning out the groove that goes basically around this inside edge. So I use that to get all that gunk and everything built up out of there. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and get to the blades. All right, to get these off, basically what you do is you wanna hold your blade steady, and this is a 15 millimeter. So literally what you do is you can see it moves easily. So what you do is just basically block your blade with something that won't get cut. So I'll just block it like that, and then you can literally break it loose, And when you take these apart, make sure on these here, you're gonna have a lot of little pieces besides the blade. So you wanna make sure not to lose any of these, because if you put this back together wrong, they won't work, and you could actually strip out your spindles. All right, to try to show it, it's really hard to see, but you can see on this first piece, you can see the flat edges of it. So on those, you want to make sure on your bolt, when you put it back together, it goes there. So this is the outside. It's like a square washer. Then you have this that rides in there, and you can see these edges, they actually lock around the edges of the blade. So that goes next. Then your blade itself comes off. And then remember, this piece will come off also. So you want to make sure you have this. Then you still have another spacer collar here too. These, even when I'm sharpening the blades, I usually leave those on. And I will just set everything back on there as the order it came off. And basically just start the nut, so that way none of this gets lost. All right, because these I'm going to take off, and these are going to get sharpened up, but I'm not going to show that on film, but you can get the idea. So I'm going to take the other one off, and I'll be back. And if my blades look a little different than yours, I do have the bagger blades on there, so these probably have a little bit higher lift than if you have just the regular blades, because I don't really use this discharge chute. You know, this is usually just lifted up because it goes out through the bagger. All right, but now I have a putty knife I'm going to use to scrape out and clean most of this off. And now this is just actually a little just plastic putty knife. I've actually rounded these edges over so that way it fits in these grooves a little bit better. This I do use probably, I would say, every other week during the summer when I'm actually using this deck. And this is the 3rd year for this deck, so I think it's actually holding up pretty well. So now we're just gonna go ahead and use this scraper, basically scrape all the gunk, everything off, get it cleaned up as best we can. And you don't have to watch me do that. All right, I didn't make it perfect, but you can see it's a heck of a lot cleaner than it was. Probably not this year, but at the end of next year, I'm gonna have to actually do a little bit more thorough cleaning and possibly doing some paint, because I mean, this is 3 years old and I'm starting to get a couple spots where the paint is coming off. The other thing to keep an eye on is this right here. This will get built up behind here with a bunch of stuff, and mine actually ended up with a sharp edge across here, so I ended up taking a file and just filing it so it's not sharp anymore. But now I'm gonna go get my blades and get them sharpened up and get this back together and store it for the winter. Okay, I'm back with the blades. So you got a nice shiny edge on them again. Got them cleaned up a little bit. So now we're gonna put these on. And you can see they only go one way, because you can see this moon, how it doesn't line up with that moon. So that tells you that the blade has to go on that way. And if you look close, you'll see there's little engravings that tell you the direction that they're supposed to go. All right, so we're gonna get these put back on. Remember, that's a 15mm bolt. We'll be back. Okay, I just wanted to show putting one together here, because you can see this spacer will move. So I find it's usually easier to line this up with the grooves in whatever direction that is. Then get your blade. That goes on there like that. Then you have your spacer that goes on. Make sure it's over the edges of the blade. And you have this piece. Like I said before, you want to make sure the flat parts line up with the flat parts. So you put that in there and you'll feel it. You know, when you get it on there right, you can see I'm bit in there. And just tighten your bolt down, because you want to make sure these are all in here right, or if this thing starts spinning, it could tear up this piece, because some of these are just like a hardened plastic, these spacers. So that's on. Now I just got to get the 15mm and tighten it down. And on this, it's just the reverse. How before I had my foot over on this side holding it up. Well, now I'll put it over here to hold it from coming down. And just so you see what I'm talking about, it's just like that. Until she's nice and tight. All right, and there you go. Now the blades are changed out. This thing's ready to go, and you can see how I have it just kind of leaning up against the side-by-side for right now. So I'm gonna take this, move it over against the wall, and that's where it's gonna sit until spring. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in down below. And just in case you didn't know, now you can see the difference between these are the bagger blades with the higher lift, then you got your regular blades. So these are really the only ones that are available for the Ryobi. And these are a very lightweight metal. So, all right, hope you enjoyed. And like I said, comments, leave them down below, and that's where it's going to sit until spring.